As we turn the calendar into June and the halfway point for the application period for the DNR Spark final round of funding, we wanted to take some time and provide some additional guidance to communities and organizations considering reapplying and leveraging their initial round applications. As a reminder, applications are due by June 26th. I'm Dan Lord with the Finance and Operations Division, and I'm going to kick off this short guidance video. As a quick overview for what we're looking to cover, the intent is to respond to the questions we've heard during the month of May and provide some additional resources and information behind the scoring and resubmittal process. As a reminder, the Spark grant is one-time American Rescue Plan Act federal funding to help local communities create, renovate, and redevelop public recreation opportunities for residents and visitors, especially those communities whose economies and health were hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we are going to provide an overview of how initial round applications were scored, as well as how to interpret and leverage a new and expanded scoring report. I'll start by reminding everyone that the most recent and up-to-date information on the Spark and other grant programs will always be found on the DNR's public-facing website. The quickest way to get there is to go to www.michigan.gov/DNR. From there, you'll want to use the top banner navigation, click on Buy and Apply, scroll down and click on Grants, and then click on Recreation. From there, you'll be able to pick the grant program you're interested in, such as the Spark program. Most of the information we're going to be discussing today will be located in the middle of the Spark website under Information for Applicants. Today, we wanted to really focus on some accompanying resources that have been updated with additional information and guidance based on the initial round of applications that we reviewed back in December and January. The sample application will be something I reference in a few slides, as it has each scoring category and breakdown of the questions that were in the application. Once you run the Spark application score report and My Grants, you'll want to keep another web page open with this sample application to help guide your resubmittal process. Additional resources that have been updated between rounds include the program booklet and questions and answers, which both launch as separate web pages with additional information. I'm now transitioning over to the My Grants online application and grant management system. I'll be covering steps on how to run the expanded application scoring report. This is also information that you will have received in an early June mass email message from the My Grants system. Once you've logged in, using the top banner dropdowns, click on Reports, scroll down and mouse over Spark, and then scroll over and click on the Spark application score, which will launch the new report. Once the report launches, there's some really important information to read through at the top, as it also contains several hyperlinks, including the sample application that I had referenced a few slides ago. Again, this will be an important crosswalk resource to utilize once you've ran your Spark application score report. I'll be talking specifically about the tier summary hyperlink in a couple of slides, so please make note of that as well. Another important piece of information is the scoring category legend showing each category in the application and the maximum points available. Finally is the search bar. This is number 3, and this is where you'll access your community or organization's name from the list. As a reminder, you'll only be able to view scores for applications and communities that you are registered for. I'm now showing the bottom page of the previous report screen. I've simply just scrolled down. You'll see that once you enter the community or organization name, number 1, you'll click the search in number 2, and then the score results will be displayed at the bottom. Because of the expanded information, be sure that you're scrolling all the way down on your website screen so you can find the other scroll bar to be able to pan left and right to see all the columns of information. It may be easiest for you to export the data to Excel, which is highlighted by number 3. This way you'll be able to manipulate the information in a way that's easiest for you to view and focus in on specific categories and questions, as well as the score results. With this example, I've redacted the community organization's name, and you'll see there are 3 rows representing all 3 applications that were submitted. The application number or unique identifier will be the farthest column to the left, which is currently not in view. I've scrolled all the way to the right to highlight the total score for each application, as well as the tier result, and more on that in just a minute. What's been added to this report is now complete scoring results for each question in the application. Those are going to be signified in the green columns, 1A, 1B, 1C, etc., all the way through, and you'll be able to see the max points available and how many points were received in each category in each question. Crosswalk you'll need to do is to go back to the sample application, review the questions, and provide additional information for a chance to improve your score in certain categories. Alex and Sharmay are going to be speaking about that in a few minutes. Now I wanted to focus on the tier summary that I had referenced a couple of slides ago. This was a hyperlink towards the top of the Spark application score webpage. Considering the amount of applications received, the cumulative request of all of them equaling $280 million, we wanted to give some points of reference to the total score for each application. Everything identified in Tier 1 were the funded applications from the initial round of Spark grant awards. By placing the applications into tiers and grouping them by a score range, what you can see as you work from left to right in each tier is the number of applications in that tier and the total amount of requested. But you also get the cumulative number of applications as well as the total amount requested as you go from Tier 2 down to Tier 10. While this only reflects applications from the initial round, we wanted to provide a sense of how far away from the fundable range each scored application was. And depending upon which tier your application is in, you can see how many applications were ahead not only in score, but also as how much additional funding would need to be provided in order to reach all the way down through the lower tiers. Again, this only reflects the initial round and is not a live or current view of how many and which applications may be resubmitted in addition to whatever new applications may come in. Please keep in mind there's only $23 million available for the application round that closes on June 26th. I'll now pass it over to Alex and Sharmay for some additional resources and information.
Thank you, Dan. Now that you have the detailed scores, Alex and I will walk you through each question in the sample application and explain how that question was scored. The first category is public benefit and anticipated outcomes. Question 1A focused on how your specific community was impacted during COVID, specifically how recreation opportunities in your community were impacted during COVID. This question had a maximum of 10 points and was scored on the basis of 0 for no answer, 5 for providing an answer to the question, and 10 backing that answer up with data and specific information at the community level. So specifically, how was your city or township impacted by COVID? Question 1B was scored on how well the proposed project tried to alleviate those negative impacts that you described in question 1A. So again, there was a maximum of 8 points. It was scored on the basis of 0 for no answer, 4 for having a proposed project that somewhat addressed the impacts, and full points were awarded if the impacts of COVID were fully addressed with the proposed project. 1C, we ask about stakeholder and community input. The more community input that you were able to provide in the form of open houses, surveys, public meetings, workshops, the more points were awarded. Please provide the design input regarding accessibility under category 5. This category was really looking for general stakeholder and community input. And the final question, 1D, the certified resolution was required as part of your application. If your application was considered eligible, then the full 2 points were awarded in this category. Category 2 was based on access to the project site. Question 2A was completely scored using GIS data. This was not a question where input or a narrative answer was allowed. The GIS data was based on the geographic location of the park and demographic information. So adjustments to the score for 2A are not possible. 2B was how will the public access your site? There were a total of 6 modes of transportation and then a checkbox allowed for other. Points were awarded based on how many checkboxes or how many modes of transportation that the public could access the site using. Please note that duplicate modes of transportation were only awarded 1 point. And finally, 2C, what partnerships or programs do you currently have at your park to help the public participate? The more examples that you were able to provide in this question, the more points you received. So there was a maximum of 3 points, and we were looking for several examples of partnerships and programming to receive full points in this category. The score for category 3 was automatically generated based on the GIS point and the data set that was available. We looked at household income, park density, mental health. All of the criteria that were used to go into that score are available in the application guidelines, but this score was automatically generated and cannot be changed. I will now turn it over to Alex to begin criteria number 4.
4. Clarity of scope and ability to execute. In 4A, the applicant should place completion dates for the targeted milestones within the application. These should be reasonable compared to the ARPA timelines and where you're at in your project. In 4B, please be sure to fill out the table to the best of your ability. If you're including scope items such as a restroom building, there should be local permits identified such as a soil erosion permit or building permit. 5. Access to new opportunities for people of all abilities. 5A. The entities listed in the application are able to provide a technical design review of your project. Please be sure to upload the design review into the appropriate spot here. In 5B, the question references the agencies listed in 5A. In this question, we would really like to hear how you've incorporated the technical design review into your project. What special considerations or design for your scope items makes them inclusive and accessible to people of all abilities. 6. Renovation and long-term maintenance. In 6A, please be sure to list new scope items under A1 and items that are renovation or redevelopment under A2. When possible, please be sure to use the drop-down list first and the other category second. There is a priority for projects that are primarily renovation or redevelop in nature, as the category name suggests. In 6B, we are interested to hear the sustainable features or environmentally friendly materials used in your project. In 6C, please provide details on what features or designs in your project will reduce long-term maintenance. Now that we've completed a review of the entire scoring for Spark, we'd like to reiterate the mass message instructions for how to resubmit a Round 1 application for Round 2. To resubmit, the authorized official will first be required to change the status from scoring report available to additional app info in process. While in this new status, you can still view your scoring report and run it at any time. While you will be able to view your entire application, you will only be able to edit the additional information page. This page provides an opportunity to add limited narrative text and additional attachments such as your resolution, the site control form, or a technical design review. When providing additional information, please be sure to reference the question number and letter in your response, or in the title of the attachment. In the example below, I have highlighted the question number and letter, and then proceeded to provide the additional information. This will help the reviewer understand which category I'm attempting to improve upon. In closing, applicants who have already submitted an application in round 2 may reach out to their grant coordinator and provide additional information at this time. All applicants will be required to provide the UEI and Sigma number in round 2. This must be edited in the organization profile. Once corrected, you can navigate back to the application, click on the applicant information page, and resave that page using the Save button in the top right corner. A small check mark will appear in the navigation pane next to the applicant information page, and note the correction. All applications must be submitted via MyGrants, and no alternative formats will be accepted. To submit the application for consideration, the authorized official must change the status to Submit Application. There are 2 ways to confirm a successful submission of the application. In MyGrants, the status will change from Submit Application to DNR Review. In addition, the authorized official should receive a confirmation email from the system within about a half hour, and please be sure to check your spam folder. The deadline is June 26th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and no late submissions will be accepted. This video, the PowerPoint, and a PDF of the score sheet provided on these slides will be available on the Spark website. We received many incredible projects in round 1, and hope your community will also consider using the information compiled for the Spark application to apply in our routine grant programs. These programs include the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and Recreation Passport, all due annually on April 1st. We hope these additional resources are helpful as you pursue an application in round 2, and we wish you the best of luck.